Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and The Fool. Right, I have some refuting to do from 5 years ago.
Okay. Were you listening to the Golems,
I listened to that one part you pointed out.
the start?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's 5 years, I think I can make some semi-better arguments.
Yeah, I think I can actually say as well that I dislike anime more than when I first...
I didn't listen to the anime, I only listened to that thing you said there.
Which part?
The, pro-church.
Pro-church. Oh, yeah, that's that timestamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought you had... Because I said, why would anyone like church? Which is fascinating that I said that, because... And the fact that I said that, right, is a question that most people, I think, would say either, yeah, well, church sucks, or they would say, how could you not like church? That's community, that's family, that's all, right? But back then, 5 years ago, when you were just a little babby, you instantly had this amazing moment of insight to say there's a difference between the dogmatic institution of the church and the community of the church, which upholds the values of Christianity. And like in an instant, you clocked into that separation.
And then
the
you
two meanings
blathered some nonsense about just community.
Which I thought was amazing. Like listening back, I was like, holy cow, that was really, really cool.
Yeah. Anyways, I want to refute what you blathered afterwards.
Okay. What did I blather afterwards?
You're saying, well, that could be true about many institutions, communism, whatever ism. You like have a bunch of isms you're trying to go through. And then you said, I think community, you then said, I think it's community is more important than church. Like it's just a sense of community.
Yeah.
But pro-church is more than just pro-community. It's where you go to be with God and God's people exclusively. One can be with God and go skiing, but one is not just with God while they're skiing. It is also where you go to learn about God from those that have dedicated their life to God. What's more, it is God's house built by his people. It should be the center of your town or your community. It is the community. And then you had something else about you complained about God being called God, and it's stupid. And it's... God is much easier than saying God of Abraham, or God of my forefather, or God overall. And it's also great marketing. Checkmate atheist.
So you could also say that, there's Marxism, and there's Leninism, and there's Stalinism, but really they're all just communism. And so it's stupid that we only call it communism when you could be debating different portions of that. And you could go to the local communist starving barbecue where you don't bring food, and you could just have the same community there in the center. But, No, I think that's fair. Except for, I don't know what the section you're talking about where I said it's stupid, call it God.
Oh, you're saying that Christians calling God is silly.
But, and maybe this is the same mindset now, I'm not sure. But I think, because because you're not calling him El or Jehovah. Or, right. Well, it is a little presumptuous, at the very least, because... It means we have this weird thing, right, where Arabic countries, for instance, like Islam, will call him Allah, right? Yeah. But Al in Arabic means the, and La means God, right?
Yeah, so it's like, you went through with this.
Okay, in the previous one.
Yes. But if you want the actual name that God gives himself, it's also weird to call God that. Do you know what God called himself?
Oh, he says, I am that I am.
It's I am. Yeah. It doesn't say I am that I am. It's, what's your name? I am.
Yeah, but then the next thing he says is, I am that I am.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, that was the word of God, was how he came, in the Kabbalistic tradition, that was how he came into creation, was he said, I am that I am.
Yeah.
And so who are you? I am. And that, because he is the being of his own creation.
Yeah.
He is existence itself.
So that was an extra bit I tacked on to the end, though, because I disagreed with you there.
But I think, he is also called, he was originally called El, right? So, Gabriel means...
Hand of God.
Yeah, I don't know why I chose the one I didn't know. Like, I know Michael, I know...
Who is like God.
I know,
Azrael.
I don't actually know what Azrael means.
I think it's voice of God.
Actually, maybe I don't know any of them. I'm trying to think, Samuel, I think is strength of God?
Yeah, Samuel, strength of God.
Okay. Ursuriel is... no, not hand of God. It's breath of God or something, isn't it?
Yeah. One of them's beloved of God.
Like the dude that Jim Butcher loves, the assassin angel. I think his name means like wind of God or something, or breath of God, but I'm not sure on that one.
What's the angel of death's name?
Azrael.
Yeah, Azrael.
Yeah. But anyways, so El is God. So we could call him El, we could call him Jehovah, we could call him Yahweh.
But El means God.
Yeah. We could call him, because of the Jews and their tetragrammations, we could also call him Lord.
Yeah.
Just straight up Lord, because that's, I think I've talked about this before, but JHVH is the consonants of God's name. And then the vowels of God's name are unknown at this point. But what the Jews did was they substituted the vowels of the word Lord for the vowels in his name, so that he was both himself and a Lord.
Yeah.
Because they think, oh yeah, you can just combine different words together like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
That doesn't confuse people for thousands of years. And if you do that, then you can say like, because it's like, oh, who's your God? Oh, my God's Zeus. Oh, who's your God? My God's God. You know, it is a little presumptuous. You're like,
well, yeah, it is. It's because it's the only God. There is no other God.
Except even within the Bible, there's other gods.
Yeah, well,
there's like Baal and there's Marduk.
Yeah, well, the Lord of Hosts is also it's easier to say God than the Lord of Hosts.
And there's King Death, and there's... Now, on the other hand, despite the presumption, calling him God is also somewhat universal in a way, because you could say... And
well, it's like you say the Queen. It's like, which Queen? Well, the Queen of England. Like, you say the Queen of Spain, or the Queen.
And the Jesuits did do this a little bit, where they're like, you believe there's a creator of all things, that which you call Manitou, like in the Huron nation, right? And then they're like, oh yeah, that our translation for Manitou is God.
Yeah.
Like that. Actually, although I believe Manitou is actually not a First Nation word. I believe it's actually a Jesuit word. Like it's not like the Jesuits made up a weird English word. It was more like, how would you say Lord of all things in Huron? And they're like, oh, that would be Manitou. It's okay, so we'll call him Manitou then. So that was kind of how they did it. But you could go to different cultures and say, what do you worship? It's like, oh, we worship this thing that brings the sun, and we call it Sol. And okay, well, Sol is actually God in our language, so you can worship. So I do think it is just a very... It's kind of like how basically every group of people on Earth, their name, if you translate it, means the people.
Yeah.
Right, so like Dene in northern Canada and Alaska, that means people.
German,
well, that means spearmen.
Yeah.
But that was named by the Romans, who called them the spearmen. Now England means land of God, I believe. And English means God's people. So that one's a bit more... they're not just the people. They're actually a bit more than that. But typically there is like people of the river, or people of the water, or people of God, or people... Like everyone has their own... I don't actually know what Jew means. It probably means something along the lines of God's people, but...
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking because that's the other, like, God's people, right? Is the common one. Russian means people of the river. Or, no, Russian means rowing men, which is really cool. Or we think it means rowing men, we're not sure.
They were... the Russians were originally...
Volga boatmen.
Muscovites.
What's a Muscovite?
They were the original people of Russia.
Right.
They were the men of the Muscovite area, and that's what Moscow's named after.
Well, the Russian origin is a little contested, actually, because...
so there was Muscovites there, and there was also the people who lived in the old capital of Kiev, and they had their own name, and then there's a group even before them.
But it's more like, on a broader scale, there's sort of a debate of Germanic versus Slavic versus Scandinavian, right? Because I believe the Russians think of themselves as Slavs, but the Germans thought of them as Germanic peoples, or Scandinavian peoples.
Do you know how the Mongolians originally beat the Russians? It's kind of a ridiculous story. So there was these, I can't remember their names, but the original group that ruled over the area were basically these semi-nomadic lords who would basically levy armies very quickly of the locals, but they themselves were all horsemen who were basically like the leaders of clans in charge, very rich, very powerful, and everyone else was very poor, typical to Russian history. And their army, it is thought, was actually capable of stopping the ravaging hordes of the Mongolians.
Yeah.
And so the Mongolians set up their camp, and the biggest army ever of this group of people gathered to face them. And then they both faced each other on the battlefield. The Mongolians were standing in front of their camp, and the horsemen charged, and the Mongolians turned around and ran away.
Yeah.
And they ran through their camp, and then these guys came into the Mongolians' camp, and they saw it was full of gold and treasure and various different things.
Yeah.
And so they told their militiamen to go away. We're going to gather up all this treasure, because they didn't want them looting it. They wanted to loot themselves. So they basically lost 90% of their army, went into this camp. Then the Mongolians are on horses. They rode back, surrounded the camp, slaughtered these guys. And then the people didn't have their leaders anymore. And so they surrendered.
What was,
And that's how they took over Russia.
I think
It was like one decisive battle.
that is something about the Mongols. Like, what's his name? Ogadai? Genghis Khan's top general. I don't remember his name. I don't know if Ogadai was his general or his grandson. But anyways, Genghis Khan's top general was one of the best military commanders ever. Like, he was a genius. And, you know, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, they didn't just have the best army. They also had amazing commanders.
And good information.
Yeah. Well, they had... I believe it was against the Russians. They think the Mongols might have used air balloons in order to, like, scout the battlefield. Which is wild to think about. Like, oh yeah, they're just these barbaric horse archers with their hot air balloons, or possibly
Their
just
gunpowder.
Or sorry, I'm getting that wrong. I think it was fire lanterns.
Yeah.
So they were signaling with them.
Yeah.
They weren't looking.
Yeah.
It was the Nazca that were looking with the air balloons. I don't think it was the Mongols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they had good information as well, that they basically knew that these people, as to traditional to Russian tradition, it seems, were greedy and would basically disrespect their common people.
Yeah.
And that was their downfall.
I told you that story of the, it might have been a Byzantine merchant or something meeting, they weren't Russians at the time, but like the Northmen or whatever, where he said they were the most disgusting people he'd ever met. I told you that story?
Yeah.
Where he's like, I'll just say it again here because it's crazy, but you hear this story, it's like, so the women would come out to the men, and they'd hand him this bucket of water, and where he would take the bucket of water, and he'd wash his face in the bucket of water, and then he would blow his nose into it and spit into it, and it's like, okay, that's kind of gross, but whatever, you know, he's getting clean, fine. Yeah. And then she would take that bucket to the second man in the company, and he would do it, and then the third, fourth. Yeah. It's just disgusting. But, so I've just been reading a bit more of
Back to this, quickly, besides the silly name thing. I think I thoroughly refuted the first bit.
I think your original insight was actually enough in of itself as a refutation, because it's not, like you say, it's a community in that place where you go with God and where the experts of God are.
Well, I'm just, this is my refute of this. It's more than community. It's a type of community.
But I think, like, it's not even just community. I think community is too small a word for what the church offers, because the church offers morality, in a sense. Yeah. Like, it's sort of this cultural keystone of morality, which is, now, I don't think it's necessary for it to be, no, I have to be careful with these words, I think. Because last time, like, in 5 years ago, I don't think I necessarily would have disagreed with you. Mm-hmm. I was just being very incautious in my speech, right? Like, I was just, like, thinking and spitballing and going. But I think that you don't have to wave around a censer and, like, flagellate yourself on the back, let's say, as an extreme, for the benefits of the church. I don't think you even have to be a Christian for the act of going to church to be a virtuous and useful thing.
I agree with that.
And I think you can also be a very virtuous Christian and go to a church and have that church be a detriment to your life.
I agree with that too.
So I think that the church as a metaphysical institution is a very important thing.
See first statement from 5 years ago in the podcast no one listened to.
But where you find that is, it's like you say here, it's probably more likely going to be the place with the experts on the field. But you could, if you're going skiing with, like, let's say a ski leader person who teaches you what you need to know. Like, I think Total Biscuit is kind of a left field, right? It's like you find God in the video game reviews, right? Yeah. Total Biscuit was giving more about ethics and morals than most, like, I would say even church leaders, school teachers, parents. Like, he was actually saying, no, this is wrong. This is right. This is, like, I think you can... And if you view God as that thing which is highest, then you could say Total Biscuit is orienting you towards that objective truth somewhat. Now, I think so I think, and there's also people, my history and your history with church, let's say, is a 45-minute drive to a place where you're bored for an hour, and then and then you sit around for however much longer, like a half an hour more, and then you drive for another 45 minutes. So you've lost like 4 hours up to, let's say 2 to 4 hours, no, more than 2, 3 to 4 hours of your weekend. And it's exhausting to sit in a stuffy room listening to this
On an
droning
oak bench.
and just be bored. And as a little kid, on the weekend, when your energy's you've been stuck in a school all week, and schools have also changed more and more to be less and less permissive of you moving about and doing things. So you're just going crazy in the schools, and then the weekend is the place where you can recuperate from the torture to children, which is schools in a way. And then you're forced to do it again.
Yeah.
And there's these horribly saccharine, like Sunday school teachers who...
Yes, I could not tolerate.
Who treat people as if they are babies in the most boring way.
Yeah.
And you're also... You're underground in the Sunday school. It was in a basement. There's no sunlight. And then your friends are like, why don't you have energy to hang out with me on Sunday or whatever? Why won't you? And so your social life is suffering. Your freedom is suffering. You're exhausted. You're getting more tired. And so church to me became this place of lessening my life. And I didn't have the connections because all the kids in the church were not my friends. They were people from 45 minutes away. They're from a different town, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I went with my friends, or if there was a church right next to our house, it would have been a totally different story.
Yeah.
But it was this artificial constraint on my day, essentially. So when I think back then 5 years ago when I said, why would you like church? It was kind of in the mindset of church is this...
A place of torture.
Yeah, it's this... But it was... I was kind of a flagellant until I was like 17 or 18, I think. Whereby we eventually got the option to not go to church around the age of like 14 or so. And I would still go because I thought it was my moral duty to do so, even though I hated doing it. And so it just, all I got from it was resentment, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But I thought this is what you have to do to be a good person.
Man, you loved drinking poison as a child.
for well, more than just a child, but yeah. No, it's just like...
No, I can say as a child because you weren't an adult until you stopped drinking poison.
I mean, that's fair. But it lasted for a lot longer than, let's say, 19 years.
Yeah.
But even now, sometimes I catch myself, and of course, 20 years from now, I'll look back and be like, no, you were still resentful all the time. Like, it's a process, right? But church can be a place where you do find connections. And like, I think I talked about it on the podcast, but I ran into some Mormons on Main Street. Yeah. And I just stopped and talked to them for like half an hour, and I was having a great time discussing theology. Because I love theology, which is weird because my experience growing up would have been, I hate theology. This is the worst thing ever. I hate philosophy. I hate theology. Why am I torturing myself? But it's funny because as I'm older, I'm like, where's a place I can go, sit down with a bunch of like-minded people and just discuss theology? And there's no place to do that. And it's funny because there isn't really. Because if you go to a church, you sit there and you get lectured to by someone who's trying to push their own like political beliefs.
Well, then you sit around the church and you wait for the meeting afterwards where they talk about having a Bible group.
Yeah, and then you go to the Bible group instead or something. The Bible study. Or maybe like the Mormon church has a bit more in-depth in there.
Well, or maybe you go to a, what are the Jewish churches called?
Synagogue.
Yeah. And you argue with them.
Yeah.
Because that's... From what I understand, which is very limited, that's all they do.
Yeah. But you do that, I think that's on Saturdays.
Okay.
But yeah, you could do that. They're,
Although that's more like arguing about tax law than actually arguing theology.
Because I don't want to... I think that these... Like, if you watch Jordan Peterson's Bible lectures, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people have experienced this. You're like, wow, there's some stuff in that story, right? But you go to an average church sermon, and they're like, Jesus died for our sins. Isn't that beautiful? That he died for our sins. It's beautiful that he died for our sins.
Have you ever only gone to United Churches?
I have been to 1 or 2 Catholic sermons and 1 Lutheran sermon, and then everything else is United Church, I think. Yeah. But they're not saying anything, and they're not saying why it's beautiful. Like, why is it beautiful he died? Why? Or there's this, like, the tax collector hiding up in the fig tree, and it's like, isn't that funny? It's no, this is really... Because the Bible stories have been stripped down to their core essence so much that, well, I don't know. You read the Bible, and it's like, wow. And then you listen to a church sermon, it's like, how can you make this boring? How can you take this incredible, dense story packed with meaning and make it that boring?
Sorry,
You just have, like, the little kids taught out and poorly misread the line, and then you have...
I'm just thinking about, I guess it would be the 3 non-United Church services I've been to here. Like, the 3 different kinds of churches. So that was the Anglican Church. And that is weird. That is weird for an entirely different reason. That's like, rote. Like, they have pre-made prayers that everyone knows that are, like, in these songbooks. And you, like, go to this songbook, go to this one. And that one's weird. Then you have the Orthodox Church, which is literally people saying a prayer over and over and over again for, like, 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's intense. It feels like you're a part of some intense ritual.
Yeah.
And there's, like, these little actions that you're trying to follow along and do, and you're in a stuffy, small room with, like, incense burning. And then the priest comes out and gives his sermon, and his sermon is a mix of reading and then morally berating you, and then saying how to be virtuous. And then I've been to 2 different churches. They're both, Baptist churches.
Yeah.
And I think it really depends on who the preacher is. Because the one, she was okay.
Yeah.
But the other Baptist one that I've been to many times is, he's a firebrand and a rebel rouser. Like, he is a really good speaker and actually digs into things deeper, and he gives you his opinion on things. It's not just, this is the church line. No, it's his opinions.
Yeah, but I think what I need, right, is like the Catholic and the Orthodox Church. Yeah. That's where you go when you are adrift and you need an anchor, right?
Yeah.
You go there, you need someone to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So you go to the Catholic and the Orthodox Church. And then I think the, what's it called? United Church is where you go when you don't know what to do with your weekend and you want to meet up with your friends.
Yeah.
And you want to have a free daycare for your kids for an hour.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the others, but what I need is, like, did you see Jordan Peterson's Exodus series?
No, I saw a fraction of it.
Okay, it was incredible. But what happened as well was you had, like, you had these experts in different, like, you had, like, these Jewish experts and these Catholic experts and these Christian experts sitting around in a table, in a circular table, just asking each other, what does this line mean? And what does this line mean? And then what is this? And having this, like, hour-long discussion on, like, a verse. That's what I, like,
That's sort of what the one guy does, of, like, really digging into, like, each individual word and talking about, like, the different meanings of it. Like, it's probably not as deep as you'd want, but he does actually dig into it.
But I don't want to listen to someone. I want to talk. No, I want to talk to someone. I'm not there to...
You want the one-on-one church debate.
Yeah.
You want to go to a monastery.
I want to go to a confessional. And then I just want to, like, debate the dude in the other booth. No, like a monastery or something, I guess, yeah. Or, like, I think, you know, like, I'd listen to the Exodus series, right? Yeah. So even listening to a bunch of people with different views is at least partially, like, me getting to ask my own questions, because the people with different views can interject, and one of them will probably line up with me somewhat. And then they can explore that idea. You notice I can end my words so quickly. Sometimes when I'm editing myself, it sounds like I've, like, cut the... I've cut the word in half, but I haven't. It's just like, I talk... And then I just...
Yeah. I have the problem, which I will draw out my words to make it sound like I'm going to start another sentence, even when I'm not.
Oh, and then when you try to stick another sentence in, it sounds like it's, like, jammed together.
Yeah, and so I just re-record that.
Yeah, but I've been having Socrates' problem. I was reading the Descartes' Meditations. And you know how Socrates said writing's terrible?
Sorry, you're sitting on your own brain, which is a throne. I've been having Socrates problems. I've been reading Descartes.
No, you know how Socrates said that writing is terrible because you can't communicate with the author? I need to quit this job, jeez.
You can't communicate with the archers. You're just not talking to them.
I've been like... I play a new video game, right? And it's like, do you want to use the bow or the sword? Sword. Give me the sword. Please, just give me the sword. I don't want to touch a bow. I'm done. Get me out of here. Or like I'm reading a book and it's like... And he pulled out his bow. It's But,
it's not the... Oh, why? Super passionate nerd who's going to refute everything.
No.
It's that I'm done with this.
It's like, You're not paying me to look at this object anymore. Keep the money coming, or I'm not touching it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to think about it.
You just have to show you a fishing rod and you'll start twitching. It's a piece of wood with string.
It's a half a bow almost. But Socrates had this argument that, or this belief that the problem with writing is you couldn't debate the author. You couldn't try to understand their ideas in depth. There's always a layer of miscommunication when you're just reading someone else's words. And I think that's what happens as well when you're watching when you go to a church, right? Yeah. But that's only part of it, right? Because church is more than that. There's also the community. That's a huge aspect.
Yeah. Well, the amazing thing, I don't know if they do this every day, but after the Orthodox sermon was over, we had a potluck.
Yeah.
And it was like there's proper food prepared. It wasn't, go select this, go select this. It's like there was a stew, there was this, like people made them, you can sort of choose. It was all like really good, basically Russian food.
Yeah.
And there's this table set out, and they put up the chairs, and then someone's like, there was 3 new young men there, one of them including me.
Yeah.
And like the other people are there, older people, some younger people, like a father with some kids. It's like, oh yeah, come sit next to me, talk with me a bit. And then you're there. And then the priest, or whatever he's called, the Orthodox priest, he like comes out, he's changed his clothing because he needs to eat and he doesn't want to get on his robes. And he like sits next to you and like holds your hand for a bit and like sort of like the greeting thing, like both hands on your lap, sit to meet you with a talk, you really get to know you. And then people are at the table and then someone will ask him a question about theology and he'll answer it. Like one of the things was, are you allowed to go to a bar?
Yeah.
And he actually like gave us the whole history and answer to that. He's like, oh yeah, I'm allowed to go to a bar. I'm not allowed to own a bar. But a bar is a community place where people are, and wherever there's community, a priest should be. And
yeah, and I think community is broader than just because I was a little dismissive of it earlier, but community itself means more than just, oh, you go to church so you can make friends. It's like, and that is a deeper idea than just on the surface. But it's also like these are people with shared values, oriented in the same direction, upholding each other, helping each other. Like the person that says, "Hey, come sit with us." That's more than a casual. That's an offer to, I will help you and you will help me and we will make each other stronger. It's a much deeper idea than just like, oh, he's just being nice. There's a very deep, like, this person could be the guy that, the Amish do this on a massive scale, but it's like, that could be the guy that helps you raise your barn and then you'll help raise his, right? Like, it becomes this very powerful bond. And that's not a mutual, I think you kind of need a word. The word could be God, but you need something to say the deeper connection, because it's not just a mutual tit for tat. It's actually a, like, I am happy to help this person. They are happy to help me. I was thinking about it last night, actually. It was like 12 o'clock at night. I was getting ready for bed. And so, like, there's no one else out and about because I work late, so I stay up late and get up late and that sort of thing. But no one else out. I'll just come back from a walk. And I was thinking, if someone comes and knocks on your door when you're just about to go to bed, it's like, wow, that's rude. Like, it's, I'm tired and whatever. But if my best friend came to the door and knocked on, like, he shouldn't be there, right? He should be in a different part of the country. He came, knocked on the door, and was like, hey, you want to talk for like 2 hours, or I need your help. Can I crash for the night, or whatever. Yeah. It's like, I was thinking about it, and it's not like, oh, well, of course I'll help my friend. That wasn't my thought. It was, I would be delighted if that happened. Yeah. Like, it wasn't just a, like, yeah, no, I'd help him, of course. It was actually like I wouldn't even be weighing up the, like, and I was thinking, because I could think of a lot of people, like even friends, where I'd be like, I gotta get up early tomorrow, I'm not, like, maybe next time, right? Yeah. But there's people where it's like, it's not an effort, it's not a thought, it's just, of course. Yeah. And I think that thing transcends that whole tit for tat. It's actually like, the other thing is, because I was thinking, there's people, I haven't seen since the pandemic, right? People who I grew up with, I was close with. One guy, he lives on the other side of over there. I don't know if you know who that is, so just from the pointing, but way over that way. Haven't seen for years. Good friends. We like each other whenever we spend time with each other. Well, he's a bad example, actually, because he would probably be happy. But someone in that vein, I show up at their door, like someone I went to elementary school with, right? Let's say. Haven't seen him for many, many years. I show up at their door, I'm like, hey, can I crash for the night or something?
Yeah, buddy, gosh, people college.
Yeah. And they'd be like, whoa, it's a little late, maybe next time. Or like, hey, you want to hang out right now? And it's like, whoa, it's a bit odd, right? Like, or I haven't seen you in years. It's a bit like you're just bringing a lot at once. Let's, let's go get coffee tomorrow and then we'll, work from there, right?
Yeah.
Because friendships can fade a little bit. I had a friend, he told me there was another friend of ours who was, there was an opportunity to do a very big thing for this other friend of ours, right?
Yeah.
But big as in, it would take a lot of effort from us to do it.
Yeah.
But it could be like this nice thing. It could be this fun thing, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into specifics for it, but so it's going to be a little vague. But and I was asking about it, and I was like, I don't think I have the time or the energy, like just with work and everything else that's going on, or the money to like do the traveling that would be required for this whole thing. Yeah. And he said, yeah, no, not me either. And I really like the guy. We were super close for many, many years. But I think it's okay that chapters just close. And that thought kind of been running through my head since. This has been like a year now, I think. And it's an interesting idea. Just like, yeah, no, it was great. We were kids together, and now we're not. And we're not kids anymore, and so that's done. And it's like, it's not wrong or right, I think.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not even sure if it's necessarily bad. It's just like...
Well, bittersweet isn't bad.
But I mean, I'm not even sure if it's necessarily bittersweet then, maybe. It's like... I mean, it could be, for sure. But I think it could also just be like that's the way... That's just that. And I'm glad... Kind of like in Finran when Himmel says, I don't spend a bunch of time crying about goodbyes. It's just goodbye, and then when I see you again... Because he was saying, if I saw him tomorrow, I'll be happy to see him, and we spend... Like, it's not like he's, like, cutting him out of his life. It's just like... I'm not putting the effort in for that guy anymore because we've gone different paths, right? And if you try to artificially bring us back together, it's not going to work, and it's just going to be more effort on both our sides.
Now, think about your best friend, though. Just a little context on him.
Yeah.
Is, if you needed it, he'd give you the shirt off his back.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do think the quality... And it's... I think I've seen people... Like, when people say ex-best friend, right? I think it's sad in a way because I think the quality of what makes someone a best friend is also the fact... that they're the person that'll give you the shirt off their back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Romney would give you the shirt off his back, too.
I wouldn't want it.
Yeah, I mean, he would do it just even if he didn't ask. But...
Yes. No, if you said, I don't want the shirt off your back, he'd throw it at you.
Yeah. But,
he'd chase you around with it.
Yeah. Rub it in your face.
Yeah, wrap it around your head.
With his weirdly strong arms.
Yeah.
No, but my best friend, I don't think there's ever... Like, we haven't really been able to see each other much over the past 5 years because of the pandemic and him moving and me being sick and a bunch of other things, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen each other very little in the last 5 years. And I was thinking about how some friendships have faded that I want to renew. Like, oh man, I really need to spend more time with that guy again. Or like, it's lapsed, let's say. Some friendships have lapsed, but I think I could pick them back up, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, but with him, I was thinking it hasn't. Like, there isn't a lapse. It's like, I have this... incredibly strong like thread or current or connection with him where it's like I could not see him for another 20 years and I wouldn't think our friendship has faded one bit. Like it's that sort of like thing right there, right? And I think that's like that. I'm bringing this into the community idea where that's what the church I think at its best can offer.
Yeah,
is this? Oh yeah, you belong and you have But it's...
Your priest should be that man.
Yeah, but it's... I guess it's not quite... What is it? Because the church is kind of the conduit to God. And like it's a... I don't think...
That's why I say it's God's house.
Yeah. I think... Like, I'm just thinking of, like, what I was getting at, like, the 5 years ago and this, and I'm combining them. And I think I would have said, and maybe still do, that I'm not much for organized... What's the word that isn't religion that encompasses the moral gathering? Like organized moral enrichment, and instead see that as not a solitary pursuit, but an independent pursuit. So you find that in your day-to-day when you're walking with friends or walking alone with God or that's sort of how I see it, I think. And so that's the church isn't the place for that. But I think that's not 100%. I don't think I can 100% claim that is true because I think of when growing up, just like when we'd have like neighborhood barbecues and that sort of thing, right? And even that was something special. But the church being... Why were we talking about the church again? I'm trying to remember. Like, why did I say you didn't need church?
I didn't listen to that bit.
Okay. Because what am I... Because your little separation there was the difference between... the institution of the church and the thing the church offers. Yeah. Because even the United Church, right?
Yeah.
The pastor that I once sat down with her. It was like 2014 or something. She's an incredibly busy person, right?
Yeah.
She's got to prepare for the sermon, and then she's got a bajillion obligations, right? And I ran into her in a coffee shop, and she's like, "Oh, hey, come and sit over." And we talked for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that is an incredible quality. She can make time for people.
Yeah, I remember I went to the church just to go look at it's like not at proper church hours.
Yeah.
And she is there and it's like, "Oh, are you okay? Do you need help?" Because people certainly have the church usually for help. And it's like, "No, I just wanted to look at the place." And then she invited me into her office and we sat there and talked a whole bunch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know what that is? That's kind of, it's what the government is supposed to be in the opposite direction. So the government is this thing that makes sure nobody, like everyone's looked out for, everyone's part of it, everyone's contributing and getting benefit from it, right? Very top-down sort of thing. Whereas the church is a very like, let's hold ourselves together and build ourselves up. And the church, I think, is a much better way to do that. But I don't think that means the church should be the one regulating like who builds the roads or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Well, if it was, then it'd stop being the church.
yeah. And I do believe in Brothers Karamazov, he actually talks about this, where you don't want the state to become the church or the church to become the state.
No.
But I think the ground-up nature of the church is basically you have a couple people, like the pastor, who are these keystone linchpins who are like, yeah, I'm going to hold the community together and make it strong. And I think that's what the church is. It's kind of like this foundational aspect of a society. It's this thing that makes people strong and binds them together.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with church growing up was the fact that the church wasn't set in our community.
No.
And if the church had been in our community, then it could have made everyone stronger in that community of like 200 to 400 people versus going all the way to a different city, essentially.
Yeah.
To interact with that community that you don't see again. And then, okay, this is a weird story, but I'll just add it in because there is some connections you make from church. Like you meet people in church, like a lot of people I met in church as kids, like that were kids as well.
Yeah.
I met again later in life. Like I went to school with them when I went to a different school, or I went on a trip, or I met their family or whatever. So you do meet these people ahead of time, but that bond doesn't really form. Like I don't think I have a single, maybe one of the guy in the choir with the amazing voice. I worked for him for a summer, and that connection was good.
Yeah, I had one.
Yeah.
But he's no longer with us.
Yeah.